This is it. Everything we've covered so far leads to this very moment. The moment you finally leave behind the old version of yourself and step into the person you've always dreamed of becoming. See, you've tried changing before. You've read books, you've watched countless videos, made resolutions, and even had bursts of discipline. But each time you've fallen back into the same frustrating patterns, feeling trapped and powerless to truly transform. Deep down, you know exactly who you want to be. You see your future self clearly, confident, successful, genuinely happy, living a life filled with meaning and purpose. But right now, that vision feels painfully out of reach. And the reality is, if you keep approaching change as something you need to chase or earn, you'll never truly get there. The real secret is that your future self already exists within you. Your dream life isn't something you chase, it's something you align with. So in this module, you're going to learn how to effortlessly shift your identity, rewiring your deepest beliefs and completely reshaping your reality. You'll finally break free from limiting paradigms, fear, and self-doubt. You'll wake up every morning already feeling like your future self, acting with confidence, clarity, and conviction. Every action and every decision effortlessly aligns with your goals. And this will be your new reality. So, the struggle ends here. You're about to unlock the ultimate key to lasting change and limitless potential. This is your chance to embody your desired self now. Are you ready? Let's awaken the best version of yourself. So, welcome to the final internal module. We have come a long way, and we are finally here. We are going to talk about shifting your identity once and for all. See, in this module, we're going to cover part 1, probing paradigms, part 2, the properties of internal change, part 3, why it's so hard to change, and part 4, how to make change easy. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So part 1, probing paradigms. You see, I've briefly talked about paradigms throughout all the modules, and I'm not over-exaggerating when I say this, but if you truly understand how paradigms work, you can literally control your reality. And this isn't some spiritual bullshit, okay? This logically makes sense. Because a paradigm is how you perceive reality, okay? So here we have a paradigm, and let's say this butterfly represents reality, okay? And how you see reality determines how you act in life, right? Your reality determines how you act in life. And how you act in life determines what you get in life, okay? So how you act in life determines what you get in life. So a paradigm determines how you perceive reality. How you see reality determines how you act in life. How you act in life determines what you get in life, okay? And this is how it works, because the way you perceive reality is purely subjective, which means your personal view is neither right or wrong, okay? It is indifferent to the objective truth, which is the world. So we need to differentiate your perception of the world or of reality is not the truth, okay? It's just your personal perspective of it. It's a completely different thing to the truths of the world, okay? Because we are a subject, we are not the object, okay? So the object actually is the earth or the world, right? And the world has its objective truths, like rocks are made out of rock, gravity exists, and there's oxygen in the air. Those objective truths, right? But the humans can have a subjective truth because they are the subject, okay? So even though the objective world stays the same, these subjective paradigms can change the way the object presents itself to them, right? For example, person A says, I love metal music, and that's their paradigm, right? Their paradigm is that they love metal music. Person B says, I hate metal music, and that's their paradigm, okay? Now, objectively, the music itself, right? They're the exact same frequencies being emitted, right? There's nothing different about the music being played into their ears, okay? There's literally nothing different. The only thing different is their paradigms. One loves metal music, one hates metal music. But objectively, the music stays the exact same. There's nothing different about it. But because of their paradigms, their realities are drastically different, okay? So objectively, the music stays the same, but it elicits a completely different reaction. And the thing is, we can't say that the reactions felt by person A or person B is wrong, because in this case, it's purely subjective. How you perceive something is purely subjective, right? So I hope you can kind of see where I'm going at here. Since there are no right or wrong answers in terms of perceiving a reality, the point is to choose and apply paradigms that result in a reality where change is easy. And that's the whole idea behind alignment. Right? And this doesn't just apply to change, it applies to everything else in life. Do you want to make more money? Simply adopt the paradigm that gives you a better chance to make you more money. Do you want to be more happy?
adopt a paradigm that allows you to be more happy. Here's another example of a paradigm, and this is a historical example, okay? This is a parable originating from ancient India. This is the story of the blind men and the elephant. These men have never seen an elephant in their lives before, and this is basically their first time touching it as blind men, okay? And what they're trying to do is they're trying to figure out what it is. So all these men are blind and they don't know what exactly they're looking at, so they have to feel it out, right? So man number one's on the back of the elephant touching the ears, and he thinks it's a fan because, you know, the ears are kind of like a fan. And then blind man number two is touching the tusks, right? And he's saying it's a spear, right? Because it's kind of like a spear. And then man number three is touching its nose, right? And man number three is saying, oh, it's a snake. An elephant is a snake. And then man number four is touching its foot and it's saying, oh, it's a tree stump, right? Man number five touching its body, it's saying, oh, it's a big wall. An elephant is a big wall. And then man number six is saying, it's touching its tail and it's saying, and he's saying that it's a rope, right? An elephant is a rope. So this is what the elephant looks like to them. So as you can see, the ears are a fan, the body a wall, the tail a rope, the feet tree stumps, the tusk is a spear, and the nose is a snake, okay? And if you notice, each answer is a paradigm. So if we gather the men and we give them an elephant, their realities will be drastically different because of their paradigms of an elephant, okay? So man number one, in this scenario, he doesn't care that he was gifted an elephant because he has no use for a spear as there is no war to fight in, okay? So he's sad that he was given a spear, even though he was given an elephant, and an elephant is an animal as we know it, but they don't know it, right? So man number two, in this scenario, he lets out a sigh of relief because he has been overheating in the sun and now he has a fan to cool down. But again, he thinks it's a fan, but in reality, it's an elephant. Man number three, in this scenario, he's happy because he gets to sit down and rest against the legs, or in this case, the tree stump, right? Man number four, he's angry because he doesn't need a wall for anything. Why would he want an elephant? He thinks an elephant is a wall, so why would he need a wall? He doesn't need a wall. So the elephant is useless to him. Man number five is satisfied because he needed an extra rope for his farm animals. Man number six, he's scared that he was gifted an elephant because he has a fear of snakes, okay? And because of their paradigms, they meet negative realities. Some of them meet positive, some of them meet negative, right? Man number two, the one that used an elephant as a fan, angered the elephant, and he is thrown off the back of the elephant, which resulted in him breaking his neck and ultimately led him to his death, okay? Man number three, thinking he can relax, decides to lay on the tree stump, but then the elephant starts walking and ends up crushing the man by accident, leading to his death. So you get the point, right? Even though the elephant stays the exact same thing, the reality is that an elephant is an animal, a big animal at that. But these men have never seen or don't even know what an elephant is, never been described what an elephant is, and these guys are blind, right? So they're just going off of their personal perception of what an elephant is after touching them, and because of their perceptions, two men have resulted in dying. And that is the point of paradigms and how they're so drastic in terms of our lives. So now I ask, who are you, right? What makes you who you are? Behind all the skin, meat, nerves, and bones, there is a subconscious, or your soul, right? This subconscious is what makes you to yourself and the people around you. What type of music you like, what hobbies you have, they all stem from the subconscious, right? And what is your subconscious? Well, it's actually just a massive collection of paradigms, a trillion, quintillion, gazillion paradigms, okay? And at the very deepest level, you are made up of paradigms. For every scenario that is possible, you have a paradigm unless you've never experienced it before. Because as you know, that paradigms are formed and shifted through experiences, so if you've never experienced something, a paradigm has not been formed yet. So in the case of a new and unrelated experience, your brain will open up your subconscious to get influenced by the experience, and then the influence, being good or bad, determines what paradigm forms. And I'll explain this in more detail later in this module. So this is what your subconscious looks like if I were to visualize it, okay? So this is what you're made out of. Each eye represents a paradigm, and let's say this is one set that makes up your subconscious. And your subconscious basically looks like a million of these. Okay, I can't fit them all in this screen, but they basically look like a million of these, and each set containing 100, 200 paradigms, right? For every scenario you've ever had in your life. Now, each paradigm marks an experience. First time ever eating sushi, right? Your first time ever eating sushi, you have no opinions, all right? No perspective, no perception, no paradigm. So you have this kind of white paradigm, which is neutral, completely neutral. So let's say in your very first time eating sushi, the moment you put that piece of sushi in your mouth, your taste buds are reflecting a negative taste, right? And you have this negative reaction, a negative experience every time sushi enters the mouth, which then causes a paradigm to form, that paradigm being a negative one, saying sushi is bad. But now let's look at the inverse. Let's say your first time eating sushi, your taste buds, your sense of smell, your sense of perception, your eyes, everything is positive, and you like sushi, then it's going to result in a reality where it elicits a positive reaction or a positive experience every time sushi enters the mouth, okay? So after a paradigm has been formed, the next time you eat sushi, you're already gonna have an idea. Do you like sushi or do you not like sushi, right? Is sushi good or sushi bad? So this paradigm will now set expectations for related paradigms and create a drastically different course of reality. So let's take the same exact paradigm of sushi is bad, sushi is good, and let's take an example of a job opportunity to be a sushi chef, okay? So if someone has the paradigm that sushi is bad, they're gonna say, oh, I don't really like sushi, so I'm not that passionate about this job, which then results in less effort, which then leads him to quitting and taking on a new career path, right? And then let's say the guy that loves sushi or has a good experience with sushi will say, oh my God, I love sushi. This is going to be such a great job opportunity. I'm gonna learn so much. And then 10 years later, they end up becoming a successful, famous sushi chef, right? Let's say. Now, I know it's obviously an over-exaggeration of an example, but you get the point, right? Your paradigm can directly influence how your life manifests or unfolds. So now what? Well, once you know you are operating from your paradigms, which is formed by your experiences, I want you to transcend that. Go into creative mode, right? Make your own rules. So how? Well, if you remember the last module, in order to pick and choose your paradigms at will, you need to harness the non-binary state and be like water. See, whenever you have a brand new experience, this neutral state where you're no longer influenced by paradigms, that is a non-binary state where you're like water, where you're able to adapt, right? It is only when a situation or an experience happens, that neutral state then chooses a pole or decides to move either good or bad, right? But if you've already had an experience and you already have paradigms that are formed and set, how can you be non-binary? Well, it's actually easier than you think, right? All you need is humility. If you are humble, if you are neutral, if you are open-minded, you have the power to change almost instantly. And success will become easy. Life will become enjoyable, right? Once you can tame the ego, your reality and your life is in your control, okay? This whole internal module has been set up to help you reach this non-binary state, aka alignment, okay? And I've planned it all from the beginning. The whole internal course has been designed to help you reach this non-binary state by increasing your self-awareness, helping you understand the concept of a different perspective, and providing the evidence in order to shift your beliefs in favor to change or in favor of change. So if you are able to grasp and understand that, you can change now, like right now. Because you've already designed and defined the person you want to become, now it is a matter of aligning yourself to that person. The only thing holding you back now is your beliefs, your paradigms, because it is ultimately your beliefs in this that drive everything into place. And don't worry, because the final module resource will guide you through becoming your dream self now. So if everything is still confusing, just keep watching because it's all going to make sense very soon, okay? Now, I want you to know that it's okay to be delusional. Society and probably your friends or your parents have conditioned you into thinking being delusional is bad, but the most successful people were deluded. right? Some of you may have the notion that this method of change is hypnotizing, gaslighting, or manipulating yourself, which is totally understandable if you see it that way. But let me ask you this. So what if it's a placebo? At the end of the day, it's going to be real anyway. It's okay to be delusional if you know that it's coming true, right? Because since this is only the internal work for change, in a sense, I want you to become delusional first and have the blind confidence that you are already the person that you're trying to become. Because in order to make all of this happen in reality, I have the external course ready, which is going to make reality reflect your internal world back to you, but that's for the future, right? So without the internal work first, it wouldn't be possible in the first place, right? That's why a lot of these self-improvement gurus will give you these advice that showcases, external wins, but deep down you still feel like a loser, you still feel miserable, you still feel unfulfilled with no purpose, right? And that's because everything starts with an intention and ends with an action. So take, for example, Walt Disney. He was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. He went bankrupt multiple times trying to create a cartoon empire, and everyone thought a theme park based on cartoons, Disneyland, would fail. But again, the reality is he created one of the most influential media companies in history and a global entertainment empire, right? Then we have Muhammad Ali. He said he was the greatest before he even had any titles to prove it. On top of that, he spoke like a champion before he even had any wins, right? But then because of these paradigms that he had about himself, the reality is that he became a heavyweight champion of the world and one of the most iconic athletes in history, and his belief in himself shaped reality. People consider him one of the GOATs, or if not the GOAT of boxing, right? Then we have Kanye West. Claimed he would be one of the greatest artists of all time before he was even signed. Jumped from music to fashion with zero industry support. And he famously said, "I am Warhol, I am Shakespeare, and I am Walt Disney." So because of his paradigms of himself, he was able to kind of manifest this into reality. And again, the reality is that he became a cultural icon in music and fashion, built a multi-million-dollar brand, which is Yeezy, and constantly redefined creative boundaries. So all it takes is the internal belief that you are already your desired self. Because with time, reality will reflect that back, right? Reality will reflect back what you've been showing to yourself internally. And that is the whole core idea of alignment, right? They are proof, and even I am proof. I was delusional before, when I was a degenerate, when I was a loser. I imagined myself as a completely different person, and with time, I became a completely different person. So now I want to talk about part 2, which is the properties of internal change. Now that you understand what paradigms are and how paradigms work and how paradigms literally control how reality manifests to you and how reality, shows up to you, we need to talk about the properties of internal change to understand how to change internally better, right? So the first thing I want to talk about is confirmation bias. Now, I've mentioned this multiple times in previous modules, and I've saved it for this module specifically because this is such a big topic to talk about. And for those that forgot, confirmation bias is the tendency to process information by looking for or interpreting information that supports their existing beliefs, aka collecting more evidence that the current paradigm is true. And this biased approach to decision making is largely unintentional, yet it results in a person ignoring information that challenge their beliefs even if it's objectively true. And this is the reason why you may believe you're a lazy person, I'm not fit for success, or taking action is hard. Unless you are aware of confirmation bias, you will keep falling victim to it and effectively making change impossible. And Carl Jung said this well, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. But see, our goal is to use this bias in our favor and make change easy, right? Because right now, confirmation bias is working against you and making change hard, but our point is to kind of tame confirmation bias and use it to our advantage to make change easy. So in this visual, I'm going to break down everything to its deepest core, and by the end, you'll be ready to change almost instantly with confirmation bias. But right before we start, let it be known that what I'm about to explain is an analogy, okay? So it's my way of conceptualizing and simplifying this very, very complex topic. So don't take it literally, okay? So here we are in the Miro board, and here we have your subconscious mind, right? If we go inside your subconscious mind, again, we've establish that they're made up of paradigms, right? And a paradigm, I want you to imagine it like an invisible pair of glasses. When worn, will change the way reality presents itself for you. So your paradigms make up your opinions, beliefs, stances, philosophies, emotional reactions, identity, perceptions, decisions, risk tolerance, expectations, motivations, interpretations, and level of responsibility, all basically piling up to create your reality, okay, or your perception of reality. And this is how a paradigm affects you in real time. So let's say you have a paradigm which is I am ugly. So you genuinely believe that you're an ugly person. So let's take a scenario where you have to meet women, and let's apply the paradigm that you're ugly onto that scenario. Now, in this scenario, because of this paradigm, you're gonna feel nervous because you think you're inferior to women due to your ugly looks. You can't keep eye contact because you feel ashamed of your own looks. And you even feel uncomfortable because deep down you think you're not worthy to be speaking to women because of your ugly looks, right? And here's the thing, self-improvement gurus will see these symptoms, right? And try to fix these symptoms, right? Self-improvement gurus will say, oh, if you feel nervous in front of women, you have to do X, Y, Z. Oh, if you can't keep eye contact, do X, Y, Z, blah, 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 right? Start look smashing, hit the gym, fix your posture, be more confident, right? Now, here's the thing. In the internal course, I will give you those same advice of going to the gym, improving your physical looks and confidence, but again, you will never truly change if you don't attack the root of the problem, and that is the alignment philosophy, right? If you have a cough due to lung cancer, a doctor's not gonna treat your fucking cough. They're gonna treat the fucking cancer. In the same way, I do not look for temporary fixes. I focus on the true problem within and actually help you change fast because I fucking care about you, okay? So, let's say you focused on changing within. Instead of having a paradigm that you are ugly, now your paradigm is I am good looking, right? So let's say the same scenario where you have to meet women and we apply that paradigm. Now you can hold eye contact as you see yourself as equal to or even superior to these women. On top of that, the way you carry yourself showcases confident energy, and that is respected by women. And you also start looking better because you're putting more effort into your looks, okay? So you can always just focus on the symptoms and try to fix that, but there's always going to be more symptoms. Unless you fix the paradigm at its core, nothing is going to change. The moment you fix that paradigm, all the symptoms are going to be gone and you'll have a new set of symptoms, right? So if it's a negative paradigm, you're going to have negative symptoms. If it's a positive paradigm, you're going to have positive symptoms. And that is the core idea, right? So now you're probably wondering, how do these negative paradigms even manifest? Well, if you remember in the fourth module, it usually comes from a traumatic or life-changing event, right? And let's say, for example, hypothetically, in kindergarten, you muster up the courage to ask your crush to be your girlfriend in front of the whole class, and she says, "No, you're ugly," and then the whole class starts laughing at you, and you start crying. "Oh." And now this life-changing event replays over and over in your head while you're in the car, driving back home. You're just remembering the time that she called you ugly in front of the whole class, and everyone's laughing at you, and this replays over and over in your head, which creates the illusion that you're getting rejected multiple times in your head. Although in reality it happened once, the way you replay it in your head kind of gives you the illusion that you're being rejected multiple times. And after hearing it multiple times in your head, it ultimately births the baby paradigm, I'm ugly. She said I'm ugly, that's the reason she rejected me, and that's the reason the whole class is laughing at me. So I'm ugly. Now keep in mind that, again, all of this happens subconsciously. You're not aware of this happening at all. This is all in the heart or in the brain or whatever. So the only reason I'm showing you this as an example is to help you become aware of all of this happening, right? Because when you become aware, it gives you the ability to change it, right? So how do these baby paradigms turn into actual paradigms that change the way you see reality? Okay, so now we're going to talk about confirmation bias. So because of that baby paradigm, you now have an idea to confirm, right? To apply confirmation bias on. So the baby paradigm is I'm ugly, and let's say this is you. Then you go through your daily life and you experience a lot of things in your daily life, right? And because of this confirmation bias, all of these kind of experiences you experience in your daily life are negative experiences which support the belief that you are ugly because you initially had that idea that you're ugly you're subconsciously searching your daily life for more experience to support the claim. So with confirmation bias, you get 5 experiences that prove that you're ugly, and which then creates the conclusion that you are ugly. And this is how your brain forms beliefs and paradigms. So a baby paradigm initially just starts as an idea. And with confirmation bias, you start to experience things which then stack up into evidence and which then form into actual paradigms and actual beliefs, right? But let's say confirmation bias didn't exist. Now, the experiences you experience are unbiased, right? You're not actively searching for experiences that prove you're ugly. You're just like, you're neutral about it. So you may still have like 3 negative experiences that prove that you're ugly, but you may have 2 that prove you're not ugly. And in this case, if we look at the evidence chart, the 2 experiences that prove you're not ugly overpowers the 3 experiences that say you're ugly, which in conclusion means you're not ugly, and now your paradigm has changed, right? But then why is 2 experiences worth more than 3? Well, that's because the impact of the experience is greater than the number of experiences. So let's take, for example, these 3 experiences maybe is probably like a friend calling you ugly, and that's gonna minus 1 experience point. A bully calling you ugly is going to minus 1 experience point. And some dude online calling you ugly is also gonna minus 1 experience point. But let's say those 2 experiences where it proved that you weren't ugly was 1, your crush calling you cute. And this is worth 4 experiences because that's your crush, right? Your crush has a higher level of influence over a bully or some random dude online, right? And then you have your mom calling you handsome, which is 2 XP because, again, you value your mom's word above, I guess you could say, a bully or a friend, right? And this is where influence comes into play. So shout out to the last module, right? This is where influence comes into play. The words of someone with a high level of influence over you will have a bigger impact on the paradigm evidence chart. Hence why impact matters more than the number of experiences. But if you're not aware of confirmation bias, impact won't even matter because your brain is being rigged and specifically looking for negative experiences. But what if we decide to rig our brain to look for positive experiences? Is that even possible? Well, yes, it is possible because that is the alignment method. See, the alignment method uses confirmation bias to our advantage by rigging our brain to look for positive information to support whatever paradigm we want. So if you want to believe you're a rich person, you can, right? You can rig it by implanting that idea in your head and applying confirmation bias to it, right? Because in the alignment method, we use confirmation bias to our advantage. Instead of using it for paradigms that serve us no purpose, we use it to enforce new paradigms that make change fast and easy. And the key is to focus on what you can control. So, for example, let's say we want to adopt a new paradigm, which is I wake up early. So the first experience you could do is tell someone about your paradigm. That's worth 1 XP. Oh, hey, did you know I'm a morning person, right? And then another experience you could do is tell yourself about the paradigm. So wake up early, right? That's 1 XP. And then tell yourself that you woke up early. Whoa, I woke up pretty early today. That's 2 experiences. And then we have a third example, which is have someone talk about your paradigm, which is worth 4 experience points, right? Have someone notice that you're actually waking up early consistently and have them tell other people for you that Rayon, he wakes up super early. He's definitely a morning person. And all of these experiences add up and create evidence to showcase, right, that this paradigm is true. So let's say for day 1, you are a lazy guy that has a fucked up sleep schedule, right? And this is due to a paradigm that states, I'm not a morning person, I can't wake up early, right? And because your current paradigm is that, it already has stacked up evidence that showcase you're not a morning person and you can't wake up early, hence why you have this current paradigm. But let's say you want to adopt a new paradigm, which is I'm a morning person, because you want to become a guy that wakes up early, ready to seize the day. Now, if you apply the alignment method with confirmation bias, by day 7, what you used to be a lazy guy that has a fucked up sleep schedule, in 7 days has become a guy that wakes up early, ready to seize the day, because you compiled enough evidence with experience that you are a morning person, which then results in the current paradigm being you are a morning person, okay? But if you want to make progress even faster, there is one experience that gives you the most XP by far. right? It's the same one I encourage with the resources, and that is action. So yes, with action, you can shift your paradigm almost instantly, right? Instead of just, telling people that, oh, did you know I'm a morning person? Oh, whoa, I woke up early today, or have someone else tell other people that I'm a morning person. Just do the action, right? What would a morning person do? They wake up early, wake up at 6, right? Fucking wake up at 5 a.m. without an alarm. These are all actions that give you the highest experience points, okay? And that's the only reason why you could completely change who you are from a guy that's lazy and has a fucked up sleep schedule into someone that wakes up early, ready to seize the day in 7 days. That's literally how long it takes. And it can be even less if you take massive action. And that is basically the alignment method and how you use confirmation bias in order to shift your paradigms and become a completely new person fast and easy, okay? So let's get back to the slides. That is how you change your identity, right? By using confirmation bias in your advantage, you are able to change into your desired self by shifting your current beliefs and paradigms, which change the way you see reality and yourself. Only then can you change into a different person, right? So now let's talk about part 3, why it's hard to change. Now, the 3 main things that make change hard are universal equilibrium, your needs, and limiting beliefs, aka paradigms that hold you back. So let's start with universal equilibrium. So the universe seeks balance, and this is a universal law. It's a law that the universe strives for a state of equilibrium, where forces are balanced and there's minimal potential for change, okay? And this doesn't necessarily mean a static state, but rather a dynamic between where opposing forces are in constant interaction. So what that basically means is that it doesn't always have to be 50-50. It could be 70-30 and still have a balance, right? It doesn't always have to be you work for 8 hours and you have fun for 8 hours. You could still have balance by working for 8 hours, having fun for 2 hours, but then you also spend time with family for another 2 hours, and you also, do some hobbies for 2 hours. So it's like it balances out and it doesn't always have to be a static state, okay? And this is why change is naturally hard. So the reason change is so hard is because of this universal law. But that's only if you work against the law. You see, instead of destroying or changing the balance, alignment is about shifting and defining your own balance. As of right now, your world is at balance, right? You being lost, you being stuck, you being sad, or living without a purpose is balance. And the moment you try to change something, the universe will send you an equal and opposite reaction to try to make you go back to how it was before. And this reaction can come in many forms: resistance, self-sabotage, and unfortunately timed events, okay? So why does the universe label you being stuck in a rut as balance? Well, it's because of you. It is you who define the current balance of your world. Every individual has their own definition of balance. Because of you, for every hour you work, you scroll on your phone for 2 to 4 hours, and that's balance to you. Because of you, for every hour of exercise you do, you eat a serving of junk food. That's balance to you. Because you were never aware of the inner world, your current identity has defined a balance for you, effectively becoming your own puppet. But now, these past modules have slowly made you more aware, right? And you're slowly starting to control yourself, your puppet, and now I'm going to help you define a new balance and ultimately give you full control over yourself and your life. So now, let's break the rules. Let's design an identity that has control over themselves, right? Become aware of what you truly want and create a balance that is well within the laws of the universe, yet works perfectly for you. Depending on your prerequisite and identity, you have the freedom to change the definition of balance to something like scrolling an hour for every 12 hours of work. The same feeling of contentment and satisfaction you currently get from your definition of balance can be shifted to the one above if it is aligned with what you truly desire. Because again, the alignment philosophy doesn't create a new version of yourself. Instead, we align ourselves to what is already there, our best version of ourselves. So, change is easy because we're not brute forcing our way to create a new definition of balance. We are simply aligning ourselves to the balance that is already there within us. But before we can do that, we need to tame our own needs, okay? And this is where the board of needs comes into play. Now that we've talked about universal equilibrium, and how it doesn't apply to us since we're actively changing our identity, which basically creates a new definition of balance, we're going to go over the 2 biggest roadblocks in your journey to change. Starting with the board of needs, right? See, the random urges to scroll on your phone, play video games, and watch porn isn't random at all. They feel random because those desires come from the subconscious, and most people aren't conscious about their subconscious, right? But thankfully, and hopefully, you have started to become more aware and more conscious. Now, the next thing I need you to be aware of is your needs, right? See, the moment you become aware of who is pulling the strings, you can fully control those random desires to do things. And this is what Carl Jung meant by, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So, I have a visual of this board of needs to give you a better understanding. So here we have the board of needs, okay? I want you to imagine like a meeting, a board, right, of needs. And the leader of this meeting or board is you. And below you are the needs. And the needs represent status, validation, fun, romance, power, eating, okay? Just to name a few. And each need represents a desire. And when a desire has a need, it will speak up and ask you, the leader, to satiate the desire. So, say for example, there's a desire for status, okay? Status asks you, can I have status? And then you make a post on social media to increase your status, which then satisfies the need for status, okay? So you wanting to post on social media to increase your status isn't random. It's actually the desire for status asking you, the leader of the board, to make that post. So all we have to do is address these kind of requests for whatever desire the need represents. Now these needs will always be there, and the only way to suppress them is to give them what they ask for. So the key here is to modify what we can give them, because the only thing that matters is that they get what they need, and they don't care how they actually get it. They just want the satisfaction of the desire being satiated. For example, the need for eating. The need will be satisfied whenever you eat anything. Doesn't matter if it's junk food, healthy food, inedible food, poison. If you eat, that need will be satiated. Now it's a matter of what is the best course of action that supports the person you want to change into, right? The need will always be there. So if you're a mukbang YouTuber that gets views whenever you eat a shit ton of junk food, for example, then the best way to satiate this need or desire would be to eat junk food, right? But if you want to become a healthy, successful individual, you would choose to satiate this desire with healthy food. And that is why alignment makes change easy, because you don't need to fight for your life to hold back these needs. You know, it's not about doing things when you don't feel like it anymore. Instead, it's about making you feel like you need to do the things that make you successful. It's literally a cheat code. And no one has really talked about this before. So to repeat, it's all about modifying the action. Negotiate with your desires. If romance has a need, instead of satiating it by watching porn and jerking off, you can use that romantic energy to fuel your work. Take yourself out on a date, do things you love, hang out with your girlfriend, deepen emotional connections. Because romance doesn't always have to be with a girl. Having a deep conversation with a close friend will satiate that need. And again, if status or validation has a need, instead of flexing on social media, remember that, again, you are the leader of this board. You call the shots. So make a rule that status will only be satiated by completing work. And you can also, set the rule, earn status from real meaningful accomplishments and use it to drive your success. You can also negotiate with status and explain that the highest form of status is to not need status. And then if fun has a need, instead of playing video games or doing drugs all day, try a new sport or a hobby, hit up old friends, go out, create something creative with no pressure, because playing video games is all right if that's the only thing you find fun, but just don't overdo it, okay? Just satiate the need and move on. If power has a need, instead of manipulating and controlling others, become so skilled in your field that people naturally respect you. Inspire and lead others, and don't control. Make a rule so that the need for power gets satiated when you don't care about external validation and become truly independent. Okay. Now, again, remember that you are the leader of this board. You have the freedom to change the terms and conditions. They operate under you, not the inverse. So the key is to satiate the desire with a method that is aligned with your desired self, because that is the alignment philosophy. So that is basically the board of needs and how you can basically trick yourself into wanting to do the work. Now, let's talk about the paradigms that hold you back. So limiting beliefs. We've touched on limiting beliefs in the very first module, but that was pretty shallow, okay? This is a paid version, so we're gonna go much deeper than that. We are going to create a smooth path so you can have a fast and easy journey towards change without a single obstacle. To do this, I have a resource that will help you dismantle all limiting beliefs and guide you towards changing now. But before that, you need to know that limiting beliefs are true. They are the result of a traumatic or negative experience. An example would be, I need to be perfectly ready to start. This limiting belief could be a result of having strict parents that reinforce such high expectations. Maybe they would beat you, criticize you, or even thirst you of love whenever your work didn't meet their high standards. But now as an adult, this has manifested into a paradigm which is holding you back from becoming the best version of yourself. Because at its core, you are an energy ball. I want you to imagine yourself as this energy ball that is constantly moving forward, okay, as you can see. And in your journey to change, there are going to be walls holding you back from becoming your desired self. So although this energy ball is constantly moving forward, the only thing stopping you from becoming your desired self are these walls in between, right? And these walls represent your limiting beliefs, self-sabotage, and resistance. But because you're always moving forward, the moment these walls are released or removed, the gap between you and your desired self ceases to exist, right? Which means change is instant. And that is the goal of alignment. And if you realize, like a lot of my modules, I talk about, removing the habits that hold you back, removing past traumas that are holding you back. I talk about the things that are holding you back, and I always remove that first, because once you remove that, change basically happens instantly. And now it should all click, right? Alignment isn't your surface level self-improvement course. With alignment, plateaus and ceilings will instantly be broken, because change is instant. You see, most people promise change, talk about renovating and upgrading the room you're already in, but alignment is about exiting the current room and entering the best room that has always been there. We no longer play under the same rules of everyone else. This is real change. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but it's like The Truman Show, right? It's basically this guy that's living this false reality, but then he realizes that his reality has been a TV show, and he ends up escaping and realizing that the world as he knew it wasn't the real world. And most people promise change, talking about how to improve this fake world that you're in, but alignment is about exiting the world and then actually seeing the real world and entering a room that has always been there, right? A room where you are a completely different person. Your best version of yourself, basically. That's like the simplest way I can put it. Now, again, if it's confusing, you can always ask me in the community. I will be answering your questions. And even in our one-on-one calls, I will be answering your questions as well. So, now that you understand that, we have to talk about part 4, the final part, how to make change fast and easy. So, the moment has finally arrived, right? The final resource. All the past modules has led up to this exact moment. Change. We are going to change your identity now, okay? Not tomorrow, not in a week, not in a month, now. I have given you everything I know about internal change. This was a result of 3 years of failing learning and critical thinking. The entire internal course has taken me over 2,000 hours. I've put my blood, sweat, and tears into this because I truly care about you. You are part of my purpose. My mission is to help the world by solving this horrible problem of people living miserable lives in regret. And this is my way of making an impact in the world. So let's awaken the best version of yourself. So welcome to The Awakening. Introduction. The only thing keeping you from your dream self is the identity you refuse to let go of. Every limiting belief, false paradigm, and mental chain is the reason you haven't become the person you desire to be. And the shift happens the moment you remove all these blocks. This guide will walk you through a mental and emotional breakthrough that will permanently shift your identity, removing the weight of the past and allowing you to step fully into the person you were meant to be. So phase 1, destruction of the old identity. So the first step is to identify and expose the root illusions. Every limiting belief and negative paradigm you hold is a lie you've accepted as truth. I'm going to repeat. Every limiting belief and negative paradigm you hold is a lie that you've accepted as truth because of confirmation bias. Okay? You've stacked up experiences which then turn into evidence, and you've accepted that as truth. You weren't born with these beliefs. They were given to you by society, family, school, failure, trauma, and your past self. To delete them, we must dig them up first. So the first exercise is the identity audit. I want you to write down everything you believe about yourself. So every statement that starts with I am, I always, I never, I can't, that's just who I am. And again, if this takes an hour, 8 hours, a day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, a month, okay, not a month, 2 weeks at most, take the time, okay? Really take the time, because I want you to list down everything, like really dig deep, okay? Now the point is to challenge each one. Where did I get this belief from? Who taught me this? Is this objectively true? Would a billionaire, Olympic athlete, or elite performer believe this? You know, what happens if I refuse to believe this right now? So for example, I am lazy is false. You know, you've just practiced laziness more than discipline. I can't focus. It's false. Because you focus fine when watching Netflix, TikTok, and video games. So you have to realize you are not your old patterns. You are who you decide to be today. Phase 2 is installing the new identity. So step 2, we're going to choose the future self. So no more half measures, right? Your future self already exists. So you're either moving toward them or staying trapped. To lock in this identity, you need brutal clarity, okay? Write out your new self's defining characteristics. So how do they act? What are their dominant thoughts? How do they act daily? What do they consistently do? How do they see the world? What do they believe about success, discipline, money, and relationships? How do others perceive them? What words would other people use to describe them? And we're going to make this real, right? We're going to find a visual reference, so a person, character, or vision of yourself that embodies this identity, right? And I want you to set rules for this identity. So for example, I will never break a promise to myself. Now phase 3 is locking it in, the final breakthrough. So step 3 is to force a permanent shift. You don't become your new identity by thinking about it. You become it by proving it through action. The brain does not believe in words, it believes in evidence, okay? The only way to permanently shift is to prove your brain that you are now this new person. So you should have affirmations, but you should always put actions first. Actions above affirmations. So now it's time for the 3-day identity lock-in challenge. You must complete 3 undeniable actions every single day that prove you are no longer your old self. So no small wins. I want massive, undeniable proof. So for example, for discipline, wake up at 5 a.m. and work out without excuses. For confidence, approach and talk to 5+ strangers in one day. For a success mindset, invest $100 in yourself, either in a course, mentor, or new skill. For focus, delete all distractions, TikTok, YouTube, games, and work 6 hours uninterrupted. Do this and you will feel your entire identity shift within 72 hours, okay? Now it's time for the final step, the point of no return, right? If you don't cut the escape route back to your old self, you will relapse. So the no return protocol is to announce your new identity publicly. So on social media, friends, family, just make it real. You know, prove to yourself and to everyone else that you've changed. And then destroy the old self's environment, okay? Delete distractions, change daily habits, throw out comfort items. And then third, set a permanent consequence for failure. So for example, if I don't follow through, I donate $1,000 to a cause I hate. So the conclusion is you are already changed. By the time you finish this guide, your old identity is gone. Your brain might try to pull you back, but you have already broken the cycle. Because remember, you are not your past self. You are the actions you take now. Your new identity is already yours, so act accordingly. So that was the final resource of the internal course. Congratulations for making it through the internal course. By now, you should have already become a completely new person, or you should know the type of person you want to become, okay? Now, all you have to do now is one thing. I literally have paved the way. I've guided you, I've held your hand and guided you through change, and there's only one thing you can do, which I cannot do myself, and that is action, okay? I cannot force you to take action. Even if you have Cristiano Ronaldo and David Goggins on your right ear and left ear shouting at you to take action, it is, at the end of the day, it is you who can only take the actions. I have given you and provided you everything you need, everything. all you have to do now is take action. Okay? So one last time, I just want to congratulate you for making it all the way to the end. I'll see you guys at the community. And if you ever feel lost and if you ever feel like something didn't make that much sense to you, you can always text me, call me. If I have time, I will be, answering your questions, and I will be answering your personal questions in your one-on-one calls as well. So thank you for watching, and congratulations on changing your identity.